Welcome! This video shows ways to analyze and manage risk in your crop plan. This is step 3 of the planning process. Step 3 has 3 paths. Number 1, analyzing ways to increase income. Number 2, analyzing and managing risk. And number 3, analyzing and managing asset use. In this video, we're heading down the path towards analyzing and managing risk. Risk measures and other outcomes are driven by management decisions. Risk, profitability, and asset use are all related. Every action has a reaction. Changes in the risk profile cause changes in estimated income and asset use. To manage risk, first define it, then find it. In planting profits, there's no single overall risk score for a given strategy. Strategy risk is measured by a combination of 10 output measures: amount of working capital used, return on working capital, return on land, percent of estimated income in top crop, percent of estimated income in top 2 crops, percent of estimated income forward sold, percent of estimated income in high-risk crops, percent of acreage in high-risk crops, estimated income given minimum prices and minimum yields, resiliency, which is the estimated income when forecasted yields, prices, and production costs are different than your planning assumptions. This measure comes from the scenario tool. To identify risks in your plan, focus on high-impact, high-probability, uncontrollable events that, should they occur, will have a big, bad effect on expected income. Start in Quadrant 1, then move to Quadrant 2. This means focus on crops that make up a large percentage of a given strategy's estimated income, crops that should be considered somewhat risky based on experience or information of potential events that could impact yield or price, and crops that have high variability between minimum and maximum yields and prices. To analyze this, the minimum and maximum values for crops and yields need to be entered into planting profits. There are 6 management levers that can be pulled to analyze risk that are under your control. These levers can be pulled individually or in combination to change a strategy's estimated income. Depending on your operation, some paths may be more feasible or desirable than others. Let's look at each. Decreasing working capital reduces several measures of risk, whether it's your money or the bank's money. We're looking for strategies that materially reduce working capital without a proportional reduction in estimated income. Look at resource use. The original amount of working capital is mostly used up. Let's look at estimated income as working capital is reduced. To analyze this, decrease working capital by 425,000 steps using Single Resource Sensitivity Analysis tool. Click Analyze. Open the view. These points are the most profitable crop mixes as working capital is decreased. Let's view this one. This is the most profitable crop mix when this amount of working capital is made available. This may or may not seem like a good trade-off. Save this strategy. Then compare the crop mix and some of the output measures to the original strategy. Remember, when planning by fields, resources, crop acreage, and crop field choices all interact. Diversification may decrease the overall impact of production and market risk for an individual crop. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? The degree of diversification is an output measure of the risk profile. Let's take a look at the degree of diversification. These measures show the percentage of expected income from the top 1 and top 2 crops. Depending on which crop limits are critical, you can drive more diversification by decreasing the acreage of a crop using a maximum crop acreage limit and/or increase the acreage of a crop using a minimum crop acreage limit. It may require a combination of both. If planning by fields, make sure you have enough possible crop field combinations to shift the acreage. Let's use the multiple crop limits sensitivity analysis tool to do this. Increase a critical minimum acreage limit. Click Analyze. This strategy is the most profitable crop mix given the new acreage limits. There's more corn and less soybeans. The relationship between diversification and resilience is analyzed in Step 4 using the Scenario tool. These crops often have high variable production costs and can have high variability in prices and yields. Crops are designated as high-risk crops by you on the Crop Information page under Optional Crop Information. The risk profile output measure is the percentage of estimated income in high-risk crops and the percentage of acreage in high-risk crops. These designations do not drive the analysis. They are only used to generate the output measures. In this example, potatoes are considered a high-risk crop. We're going to use a maximum acreage limit to drive down acreage assigned to potatoes in our baseline strategy. First, we'll clone our baseline strategy. Keep the baseline unchanged for comparison. Then go to the Crop Limits page and decrease the maximum acreage of potatoes from 35% to 20%. Analyze the strategy. Acres of potatoes decreased. Estimated income decreased. The amount of working capital required decreased. If satisfied with this new crop mix, compare it to the original one in terms of income, risk output measures, resource use, etc. Whether this is a good trade-off depends on other factors, including positioning for next year, which can be hard to put a number on. Another way to decrease income uncertainty is to increase forward sales for one or more crops, assuming good prices are being offered. It's profitable, and you can produce the required quantity and quality. Let's assume there is an opportunity to contract 20,000 bushels of soybeans at $14.75 per bushel. These are commodity beans, so there's no need to create a new crop for the forward sale. We're trying to decide whether to take the contract or not. To do this, go to the forward sales page. Contract price is $14.75 per bushel. Quantity is for 20,000 bushels. Select Firm. With an estimated yield of 65 bushels per acre, Planting Profits will assign about 300 acres for the contract soybeans, even if this is not the most profitable assignment of acres. Analyze the strategy. Compare the strategy with the contract and to the one without. Estimated income is higher without the contract, given the forecasted price for open, non-contracted soybeans. But in the scenario with a low soybeans price, the strategy with the contracted beans has a higher estimated income. In this example, we're trading off income to reduce income uncertainty. To capture some upside price when holding a contract, you could use call options, but futures and options analysis are not yet included in Planting Profits. Add a less volatile crop to the mix. This approach is similar to adding a new forward sale, which was just covered. The difference is that, in this case, there is no price certainty. To add a new crop, go to the Crops page and select the crop, or create a new crop using the Crop Master. We're going to add barley to our crop choice. It can substitute for the higher-risk potatoes and give us the option to come back next year and put more acreage into potatoes. Enter the expected yields, prices, and production costs for barley. Look at per acre estimated income. Since estimated income is lower for barley than other crops, we'll have to add a minimum acreage limit to force at least that much acreage of barley into the mix. Click through the rest of the pages and add the required information, including the new crop limits. Analyze the strategy. The new strategy has 200 acres of barley and 200 less acres of potatoes. Estimated income is lower for the one with the barley. Required working capital is significantly less for the strategy that includes the barley. In this example, there are other trade-offs and output measures to consider, such as return on working capital and, of course, the loss in expected income. There are many insurance products, some more complex than others. Some are really complex. More importantly, crop insurance provides a floor on losses, and many products are subsidized. Some products provide a floor on revenue. In Planting Profits, different types of crop insurance are modeled as different crops. Capabilities to evaluate crop insurance are under construction. Download a checklist and note which of these approaches to analyzing risk are applicable. There are 2 other training videos that cover Step 3, Analyzing Increasing Income and Analyzing and Managing Asset Use. Thank you for your time. For more information, please go to www.plantingprofits.com.